8,000 soldiers. Every face feels human. But they were never meant to be grey. When the first colors met the air, they began to die. Behind them stands a tomb still unopened. Its owner spent his life trying not to die. This is not the story of statues. It is the story of an emperor who, having mastered the world above, tried to govern death itself. His name was Ying-zhang. He became king of Qin at 13. China was not one country. It was a field of rival kingdoms, fighting, scheming, consuming one another. Qin was the state that turned war into a system. Over 25 years, Ying-zhang destroyed all 6 rivals. And once he had conquered the land, he began to standardize it. Writing, currency, weights and measures, even the width of cart axles. He did not merely rule territory. He made the empire legible, measurable, repeatable. Roads bound the new state together. Orders moved farther. Armies moved faster. Authority reached deeper. He had pushed imperial rule toward a new limit. Not only conquering the world, but teaching the world to behave in one language. Across Eurasia, Rome too was learning how conquest becomes empire. But Qin's answer was harsher. It did not merely rule difference. It pressed difference into a single form. And once the world in space had been brought under command, only one frontier remained: time. There is a dangerous moment in absolute power. The moment after victory. When nothing remains unconquered, except death. And Qin Shi Huang had reason to fear endings. Assassins had come close before. He never forgot it. He sent the court adventurer Xu Fu east across the sea. The mission was simple to describe, and impossible to fulfill. Bring back immortality. Xu Fu never returned. So the emperor turned to the other promise. Alchemy. Elixirs. Minerals transformed into medicine. To us, they look like poison. To him, they looked like delay. In his later years he moved constantly, sleeping in different palaces, hiding his movements from all but a trusted few. He had conquered the world in space. Now he was trying to conquer it in time. Rome would eventually develop a different answer. A dead ruler could survive in memory, monument, ritual, public image. Qin wanted something harsher. Not glory after death, but command through it. And if the body could not be trusted to endure, perhaps the empire could. Construction on the mausoleum had begun when he first took the throne. It continued for nearly 4 decades. Sima Qian says 700,000 men worked here at its height. The full complex spread across a vast landscape. This was not a grave in the ordinary sense. It was a planned territory. Everything about it feels imperial. Not intimate. Not private. But organized. Scaled. Administered. At the center lay the burial chamber. But the point was not darkness. It was continuity. Sima Qian described a ceiling of heavenly bodies, and below it, a model world. He described rivers and seas of mercury. Not simply treasure. A geography. For centuries, that sounded like legend. Then scientists tested the soil around the mound. Mercury levels rose far above the natural background. And still, the central chamber remains unopened. The empire below has never fully entered the modern world. This was not how a ruler asks to be remembered. It is how a ruler prepares to continue. One of the strangest details is this. The ancient historian Sima Qian described the tomb in vivid terms. But he never mentioned the army outside it. And yet here they are. Thousands of life-sized figures, hidden beneath the earth. Pit 1 is the main battle formation. Long lines of infantry, arranged with military logic. Pit 2 holds cavalry and archers. The mobile force. Pit 3 appears to be the command post. The center of decision. And one pit was dug but left empty. A project interrupted. An empire whose design outran the life of its maker. These are not decorative grave goods. They are deployed. Positioned. Held in readiness. Yes, the faces are famous. Their individuality is startling. But the deeper point is not personality. It is classification. Rank. Role. Function. Hierarchy survives in clay. So does discipline. So does military order. And in color, the effect becomes stronger still. This was not a neutral army of clay. It was a coded army. Legible to the state that made it. A Roman emperor might leave statues and inscriptions. Qin Shi Huang left formations. He did not only want to be remembered. He wanted to remain obeyed. The army was not made as 8,000 separate miracles. It was made by a system. Bodies could be produced through repeatable methods. Then finished by hand. Mass production gave speed. Human labor gave variation. And in places no visitor was ever meant to admire, there are names. Bronze weapons carry marks as well. Regnal years. Officials. Workshops. Specific workers. This was precision under pressure. Standardized manufacture on an imperial scale. The names were not signatures in the modern artistic sense. They were addresses for blame. If something failed, the state wanted to know who failed with it. This is the real black heart of the army. Fear turned into efficiency. Law turned into precision. Administration turned into art. This is not art escaping the state. It is art perfected by the state. By the end of Qin, labor and punishment had begun to blur. A Levi order. A sentence. A transport command. A missed duty. All could feed the same machine. In 210 BC, still touring his empire, still searching for signs and remedies, Qin Shi Huang set out once more across the realm he had unified. He was 49 when he died on the road. And then the system did something revealing. It did not stop. His death was concealed. Salted fish were packed around the carriage to hide the smell. Command still moved. Decrees still traveled. The machine continued as if the body inside it were still issuing law. It is hard to imagine a more brutal irony. He had spent his life trying to make the world governable. And in the end, even his death had to be managed like a problem of logistics. He had tried to master mortality through control. Instead, control became the style of his final failure. And within a year, the pressure that had built the empire began to turn against it. In 209 BC, conscripts at Dazuxiang rose in revolt. The rain was only the spark. As Sima Qian put it, all under heaven had long suffered under Qin. Ancient texts say that once the burial was complete, the gates were shut. The machinery of continuity was sealed underground. Near the complex, archaeologists have uncovered human remains that speak to the labor and violence behind the project. The underground empire did not remain untouched. The leading historical reconstruction is that rebels looted the weapons and burned the pits. The timber roofs came down. Thousands of figures broke where they stood. Then the earth closed over everything again. The empire below vanished from sight. In 1974, farmers digging a well struck something hard beneath the fields. First fragments. Then a head. Then the signs of a buried world. Within weeks, excavation was underway. And the scale of the discovery began to show itself. Almost every figure standing today had first to be rebuilt from ruin. And then came the second shock. The warriors were not grey. They had been painted in vivid color. But the colors did not survive the opening. The lacquer beneath them had absorbed moisture underground for more than 2,000 years. Once exposed, it began to contract. The paint lifted, curled, and fell away. Modern conservators now race to slow that process. Chemistry against chemistry. Minutes against millennia. For 2,000 years, the Earth preserved what modern air could kill. And that is why the central tomb still remains closed. The warriors taught archaeologists a painful lesson. Opening can destroy. So the heart of the mausoleum remains unentered. Still sealed. Still argued over. Still waiting. If the outer pits already reveal this much ambition, technique, fear, organization, and denial, then the unopened center may contain not merely more treasure, but the emperor's most complete answer to death. Rome taught emperors how to survive as memory. In names. In monuments. In public ritual. Qin Shi Huang attempted something stranger. To survive as government. The Terracotta Army is not proof that he defeated death. It is proof that he tried to administer it. And that, perhaps, is why it still unsettles us. Meanwhile, in the East covers the history that never made it into your textbooks. Next time, 1,000 years forward. To Hangzhou. A city of paper money, printed books, menus, lights, and nights that never ended.